are, bottom of the Smash Mountain. I would like to thank all my Patreon supporters at patreon.com/bsmpod for continuing to support me in what I'm doing. Big special shout outs to my senior producers. We have Ventus Official and my parents, mom and dad. Love y'all. Thank you for the support. To everybody else tuning in, also thank you very much for tuning in for another episode here. We have, well, I should start with SwarmEngine, aka Hassan, here on the pod all the way from UK. We're going to talk about all of the UK stuff because I can't get enough of it. I've had Frenzy and Kingu on, but this is someone who I've wanted to have on before anybody else from the UK, but I did I did struggle a little bit with being patient, but this has been a little bit of a long time coming. There have been some back and forths and me being told to be patient and wait, but I have been patient and feel very excited to finally welcome you on, Hassan. Thank you so much for joining me. This is awesome to have you on.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure, Jesse. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, you've actually been quite persistent, admirably so. Like, yeah, no, it's sort of like, I guess you would have first found me like through SharpEngine, right?
Yep.
Maybe that's your first exposure to me. I have no idea how it might have crossed your like feed or stream or like face like online, however. But yeah, no.
If I had to guess, Sharp may have said something about it on the Melee Stats Discord, and I go, another Melee podcast, all right. Yeah. And then I hop over and check it out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like, I'm like, I don't know about you, but especially when I was like getting into Melee, especially like podcasts were like one of my big things I always used to binge. And I know you're slightly newer in terms of your Melee consuming and just being in it. So yeah, no, I always get excited as well whenever I see like a decent podcast. So yeah, no, it's relatable.
I want to definitely listen to some long form content in my life, not on a consistent always basis, but I honestly have still not really fallen into the TikTok 30-second video type format just yet, or the vertical format. I still haven't really gotten into it, not even on YouTube. It's kind of on YouTube because I see that they put, but even still, what I'm saying is that while I really love the Vine days, TikTok feels artificial compared to that for some reason, even though I see TikToks be posted onto Twitter and I'll see a few of them there and I'll go, great, I don't have to have a TikTok if people just put it onto Twitter in the first place. So that's also probably part of it. But I really liked Vines when that was a thing, and I just stopped jumping onto the latest social platform when TikTok rolled around. I said, I really don't want to invest into a new thing or lose a lot of time on it, because I feel like I lose a lot of time on social media platforms anyway. And although I'm upset about Reddit because our SSBM and our Smash Bros, it's a little sad to not have that to to see how the people feel about Mango not trying hard enough. As fun as that is, I also don't really miss Reddit so far. I deleted the app from my phone and just, I don't know if I'm going to even get back on if it comes back. So I kind of feel nice about that, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a thing where, honestly, Jesse, I'll tell you now, okay, as an avid TikTok user, I use this app like, oh my God, I use it like, it must be, I feel like it would be like embarrassing to say how much I use that. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where, as well, like I sort of feel it was like artificial and the content wasn't necessarily, it didn't feel genuine, you know? Because that's something like, I feel like not just with Melee content I consume, but podcasts in general, it does sort of feel like it's a lot more like genuine. And one of the good things about content that I value is like you get a sense of connection with the person that's making it, you know? And there's that intimacy, if that's not too strange a word.
No, it's the right word to say. We Americans we do get weird about intimate words being used in a non-intimate way. We're really hung up about it. But when you think about something that's really pressed together nicely, well chopped and edited, it feels as if it's gone through a bunch of filters in order to be as consumable to a broad audience as possible. And what I really love about having on people here to talk for over an hour, there's no pressing and chopping and editing heavily anyway. I guess if my internet drops and we spend 5 minutes going, can you hear me? I'll cut that. But I don't really cut anything else because I want the whole the whole experience. I think that's what I connect to the most when I listen to the podcast that I listen to. It's a little difficult for the ones that constantly read ads, or if they're
Sure.
or if you can tell that those are also like they took a 2.5 hour conversation and made it an hour and a half. They like cut a whole hour away. I
Mm.
kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm just the kind of person who, if I could, would be the fly on the wall, would love to hear conversations of people
Yeah,
that wouldn't necessarily know
exactly.
I was there, because you're trying to recreate that in a podcast most of the time. You're trying to create that kind of a vibe, except you do know that there's people who will want to listen or not, but you're also have to perform. So I think the performance urge is at a less, it's less of a thing in this format, and people who tune in are actually interested in the content. It's not like where I've had these recordings go on to BTS Smash's Twitch for the Genesis thing, the Genesis fundraiser for the
Yeah.
Genesis 8 when it was had to be delayed and lost a bunch of money. Me and Pew Pew
Hmm.
U recorded, and I tried to make it about an hour long, and we put that out, and there were around 1,000 people watching, some most of which were saying, "What's going on? Oh, Pew Pew U." That's the only thing that saved me. Otherwise, they would have tuned out. But I don't know if I really want those people anyway. I want people who are interested in talking about Melee to an absurd amount, and then
Yeah,
learning
no.
about the person as well. That's so for the people who want that, I am here for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that, and I definitely like relate to it as well. Like, if I think back to, because you found me through Sharp Engine, but there was like sort of a gap between when I started Sharp Engine and my first podcast, which I did, which was just called the Swarmcast. It was a very unoriginal name,
Mm,
but that was essentially like just me and a couple of my like UK melee friends, and essentially, we'd be like online like most people are nowadays. Oh, I guess a lot of people in the melee community are nowadays like the friendships are online and people interact online and they spend a lot of time in voice calls and stuff like that. So I was thinking to myself like, oh, we spend like quite a lot of time in these voice calls just chatting to each other. And I valued the idea of like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting to sort of like capture some of the like funny conversations that we have about a bunch of the scene, like unfiltered, like we just get we can like, and the thing about it as well was that my friends were from like around UK Melee, right? So I had friends in London, friends in Bristol, friends in um basically all around the place, Um we even had people from like calling from like different countries and stuff like that.
very nice.
So like when people were around like around the world basically. So yeah, no. I sort of like really dig the idea of like, yeah, we get to see like what people think about um, whatever's going on from their perspective, and it's just like a genuine perspective that they have. But that isn't to say that, TikTok, the thing about it is like, once you get into it, like there's so much on there that you can't really expect every single creator to sort of be someone that does do all of that professional stuff, if you know what I mean.
True.
So you do like quite like grungy like posts, and there's all sorts of like I'd say like I would even go I think TikTok might be the most like genuine platform that I use, if that makes sense.
Does
The
it
only problem,
capture the Wild West feel? Because all the new
yeah,
social media
it
platforms
does.
10 years ago had that Wild West feel, and now we're all kind of, we have to button up a little bit. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. Has anybody used Facebook? I know
Yeah.
some of us still do, specifically to post onto the Facebook Melee groups to say, does anybody still play Melee? Get into the
Yeah.
Discord.
Um, no, I think it definitely does capture that what's it called? That Wild West um feel. It's just that it's also behind like this massive algorithm which is maybe like maybe
The most
like tinkered with
dangerous
by
in
the
the
Chinese
world.
government. Yeah, who knows? But um yeah, but yeah, I'd say like it probably is more genuine like than Twitter, and Twitter feels like it's quite like a lot of base urges just being spewed onto the timeline like on a daily basis, you know what I mean?
I do. I
Um,
do. Anything
So,
productive that gets done takes about 6 to 12 hours of heartache first. I'll ground us in some recent news. Hungrybox bans Zion from the Coinbox
mm,
series, and what that took was about 3 hours of everyone kind of dumping on Hungrybox, Safe State in particular, and then Hungrybox quote tweeting Safe State and going like, "It's not my fault. Like I'm not actually in charge of who gets banned from my tournament series, even though it is my tournament series and it's a whole
yeah.
thing." But then the right thing happens. Zion gets banned from Coinbox, and a lot of the regions in North America, at least, are starting to follow suit, which is the correct response. It just takes
Mm,
all of what I laid out in order for that to actually happen. That's
yeah.
apparently how we get things done in the Melee community. It's ugly
Yeah.
in
It's
that window.
messy. It's messy. Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know if you have. I don't want to because it feels like the way that I'm driving this conversation, it makes it feel like it's sort of like a train of thought. You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
don't want to divert like your potential questions that
You
you might
could
have for
go in
me.
wherever you want.
But
You're the guest. You're the star of the show.
nice. Okay. But yeah, no, I think it's sort of reflective of the fact that, like, I spoke about this in my episode 5 of the SwarmEngine podcast with Chase, right? Like,
Mm.
we went in depth about the sort of issues that he had around, like, I guess the best way I could describe it is like the governance of the scene, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
because
like,
there's not really it being one, right?
exactly. It's like, um, so can you remind me again when you started, Jesse? Like,
I started in
uh,
January of 2021 for this podcast,
mm,
and I started to get more involved in stream lurking and watching and following people on Twitter in 2000 end of 2018. So it was like Smash Summit
okay.
6, and when I saw Genesis 6, that was the one. The Genesis 6 was the one that Hungrybox won, and then that was the beginning of 2019, right? Genesis 7, I always mix up 6 and 7, even though I shouldn't. Zane won Genesis 7, heh. But Genesis 6 was unfortunately the grand finals timeout of Hungrybox timing out Axe,
Mm.
even though Axe did not seemingly realize he was being timed out as well. All of us were like, wait, no, Axe, go in, no, Axe, go in. What are you doing? There's only 5 seconds left.
Yeah, no. I remember that one vividly. I remember, what's it called? I remember being, I wouldn't say, it was like one of those things where like, I would have been bored if it wasn't for how momentous that whole moment is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think it's sort of like, it's that underrated aspect of like timeouts and stuff like that, where people sort of feel like, oh, at the face of them, that it's obviously like a boring experience. But when you actually, it becomes a spectator thing, then what's it called? You get wrapped up in it, and it's like one of the most extremely hype things that you see in Melee. But
absolutely.
yeah, no, if you started caring about or being into Melee around like 2018, then you'll probably remember like the code of conduct stuff that was going on. Do you remember anything around that?
I do,
And
yes.
like you had the 5 and the 25 and all those people. Like, do you remember that?
You said 5 and 25. I mean,
Mm,
my first memory of Code of Conduct was, I mean, Code of Conduct spanned to Smash Ultimate side of things as well. So in
mm,
2020, when a lot of allegations came out, I mean, Dr. Piggy and all the Code of Conduct panel got completely overwhelmed, and it's kind of sunk underneath all of that. But through each thing, having to constantly handle a new case, if you will, and we're talking about volunteers putting in volunteer hours. It was really ugly for that reason, and people just saying they're not actually trying to do their best. It's an agenda. It's them trying to exercise power over everybody else for no reason. And it's like,
mm,
this is our best attempt at trying to organize a system that holds people accountable to keep the community safe and be able to have fun as well. So you pushing back like that it made it really. I can't believe that they lasted as long as they did. Is kind of how I took it away when they announced that the code of conduct would be disbanding at the end of that year. I think it was the end of 2020 when they announced that.
mm.
It might have been a little bit
It's around
into
that time. It might have
2021 though.
been, yeah. To be honest, the that period of Melee time is like honestly like so traumatic. Like to me, I remember like waking up like each day on Twitter and you'd like see something new and it would be like new and horrific and like yeah, it felt like the scene was like almost unraveling at that time, under the weight of like the sheer amount of abuse that was going on at like seemingly right in front of our eyes. But um, yeah, no, it's one of those things where yeah, no, that's also something else where I feel like I don't know if like the scene has properly processed that unresolved trauma. You know what I mean? That sort of collective trauma that we all went through during that time. Where we were being exposed to it, and you know, the scene that we and the community that we love and were so invested in was like provably shown to be something that was harboring so much, like yeah, abuse for a lot of people over a long period of time. But yeah, the fact that it collapsed, the code of conduct, um I think is one of the it's like one of the big questions if you think about the questions surrounding melee. um and the five and the 25, by the way, was like the five were like a group of people, sort of like, I don't know, like a council of elders that existed, which set up things like the melee rule set, and they did a lot of things around like governing how, like, when tournaments would happen, like the calendar, if you know about the Smash calendar.
Yeah, I do know about the
And the
Smash Calendar.
20,
Yep.
yeah, the 25 was like a subgroup which had like less power behind them. Basically, it was something that a few TOs came up with. So like the five were like um the Crimson Blur, Juggle Guy, who won
Sheridan, I
Big
assume.
House, Sheridan, yeah, Dr. Z, from Genesis team. And then there was, I think, Matt.Zeb, because he was running Shan at the time,
Yep.
and maybe she from the same team, from who runs Shine.
That's a name I
Um,
don't recognize, but I know Matt Outzeb. Yep.
oh no, actually it was Nintendo. Nintendo was the last guy,
Oh yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
he obviously has such a big role. I don't know if he
Yeah.
still does. With he used to be the main TO, at least for Melee, for Super Smash Con,
Mm-hmm.
which is like obviously it's like our new big three, maybe, if you're talking about majors. But
You get the combo contest, and I think that's probably last year was probably the East Coast's biggest melee event. I mean, Shine
mm,
was popular, but I think just because of the spectacle of SmashCon, I think that might have been
yeah,
the most popular East Coast tournament last year. Like specifically East Coast, because like Big House is not East Coast. Sure, it's in the Eastern time zone, but barely. It's
oh
Midwest.
sure.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, no. I guess, yeah, no, that makes sense actually, because with all of these, like, this is like an American thing that I don't understand fully. But yeah, obviously, like, it's a Midwest tournament, and Michigan's in the Midwest. But I guess the lens that I always view it through is like how late I have to stay up to watch these tournaments. And
Yes.
so, yeah, if it's East Coast time zone, I'm like a lot happier than if it's like on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no. But
And when
yeah, no,
Melee's first, it's like in the afternoon on East Coast time. You're
yes.
eating.
Oh my
You're
God, I
like
love
it's like
it.
happening right it would be happening right now. You're having your dinner.
Mm,
It's only a little bit after it's 8:30. So
pretty
you're like
much.
this is great. I don't have to stay up until 3 or I don't have to think about do I stay up until 3 for top 8 to even begin. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the best thing is that it's happening a lot more now. Well, actually, that's sort of a sign of the fact that Melee is a lot smaller than it used to be. Because the main thing was like people would stick for Melee, Ultimate people would stick for Melee, and that's why you wanted to have it be like the, I don't know what you describe it as, like the main event, like the showstopper, like the big thing
Yeah.
that you ramp up to, because you always like, essentially the theory is like you want to ramp up in terms of your viewership, right? And
Yeah,
so Melee was like the big thing that everyone came to watch, and yeah, then now that's Ultimate. So I'm
that's
sort of
true.
like we're all benefiting slightly in EU because we don't have to stay up as late, but like obviously you prefer it to be
No,
like
I like because Big House 10 people were pissed that Melee was first because Riddles won the ultimate bracket. That was Riddles' first big win, but everyone was like was kind of hype. But also a lot of the Melee people left and it wasn't as hype. And I go, that's right, because you need
yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah, pretty
But we
much.
also got to go out and have dinner at 5:30 or 6 o'clock or whatever it was instead of
Yeah.
going, oh, I'm starving. Or I mean, I would skip watching Ultimate Top 8 if I had to go out to dinner while Ultimate Top 8 was happening. Sure, and that's what I did at Battle BC because they had Ultimate first and then Melee. But whatever, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've never left England, let alone the UK, for Smash tournaments. But I've heard like that's a Juggle Guy thing where he likes to end his tournaments early. Like that was
Mm,
always like the running thing that people would comment on. But no, I've actually diverted so much. What I was gonna say was that so there were all of those efforts basically, like the 525 code of conduct stuff like that, and the fact that all of those essentially like don't exist anymore and have completely broken down, like it's the reason why I think, or at least it's one of the engines for greater like discord in this way. I feel like that would simply not happen, right? If we had a functioning the thing on Twitter with like HBox and Safe State and everyone else that got involved. Like, I mean, it's a good thing that Sion ended up getting banned, I think. But all of that would have been averted if we had like a proper functioning mechanism for dealing with that. And not only that, but like if like theoretically, if like Sion was like a misbehaving person in the community, then you could have it like clearly stated like this is your punishment. When you come back to the scene, these are things that you have to follow, right? And if you breach these things, then we're gonna kick you out again, you know? And that would be like a clear message to the offender as well as to the community that something had been done, you know? And as a result, you could have a lot more trust in the whole system and you could have a lot more faith in the community and you could feel like free and you wouldn't have to worry about what's going on, you know? And yeah, no, I mean, it's a good thing that there's maybe the chance that an offender in that situation can just hide their sort of or to sort of like harbor like hatred and not have it be exposed, by just following the rules, But yeah, no, I think overall it would be a lot better system. So it's a
The
shame it can't work
the
in our
way that it
community right
worked
now.
for, not to keep bringing up Zion, but the way that it worked for him specifically was the NYC region saying we're banning Zion and these are the reasons
Mm,
why and this is how long the ban is, and everyone just kind of like jumped onto that. It's almost
mm,
as if now it's sort of up to the regional TOs that the player is from to say this is what we're going to do. And so when No Fluxes was banned from Chicago, it's kind of like, well, we don't want if your own region doesn't want you to go to their events for a year, then we're gonna serve the same purpose. Like, that's kind of
yeah,
that was the same example there as well.
yeah,
That's better than nothing, but it's tough because we don't have. I mean, this is one of the awesome things about Melee and On Me. Melee and On Me was able to be a big driving force behind to my, like, this has been told to me, so this is secondhand information. You can correct me if
yeah,
I'm wrong. They were the driving force behind us getting to Evo 2013 and doing the Spirit Bomb and raising all those funds. Of course, a random person from Australia who carries a tag Nova donating 20K, and that's why M2K wore the Nova
NT
tag.
King,
But that,
yeah,
but
iconic,
like, Scar and Prague and the rest of Melee on Me. Sorry, Tafo, you're a part of Melee on Me as well.
yeah,
Being able to kind of just say, all right, let's go get them this way, let's go get them that way, sponsoring our best players so that they could start to sign with esports team like Mango and PPMD and Mewtwo King and on and on. But now we're all just kind of trying to do our own thing, so it feels, from a content perspective and from a tournament perspective, from a community perspective, whoever's got the mic kind of has the floor for a few minutes and then it gets passed on to the next person. And for someone who's really dialed in like me, well, I'd like to think that I'm really dialed in anyway, and being able to keep up with everything because I follow enough people that I hear about
yeah.
enough things,
You
like
got
finding
what's
you.
happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got your show with Hannah as well. Like you're sort of like a melee journalist. I'll be honest. Like Jesse, you're like one of these people that are filling these like crucial roles of informing people.
Well,
But
Melee Stats has wider reach and does better at informing people probably than me and Hada do. But
sure.
we like putting our own opinion onto things and doing it anyway, just in case. But
Mm,
that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people who like following Melee Stats for information. There's a lot of people who just like being on Reddit and avoiding Twitter altogether, and they'll go onto our SSBM to get the latest pinned. Like, these are the
yeah,
upcoming tournaments, and this is what just happened this past weekend. And I can tell there's a big chunk of Melee followers, not necessarily Melee enthusiasts or Melee heads, who enjoy watching top tournaments when it's like getting close to grand finals, because the viewership always goes from, oh, it's like 4K Now it's 10K. Well, where were these 6,000 people for?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
like
yeah.
losers quarters was super hype
For
as well.
pools, yeah,
Y'all missed
no,
out on that. Not even to mention top 64 when interesting matches happen anyway. Because let's be honest, Leffen's gonna 3-0 the person who miraculously makes it to top 8 anyway, and is that
yeah,
super
yeah.
hype? Not necessarily. But when that person finally made top 8 for the first time, like when Toussaint beat Kadoran, oh, that's so cool. That was at Genesis
Yeah,
9, by the way. You know, when stuff like that
that was a big
happens.
one. Yeah,
But, you know, the vast majority of Melee people who watch Mango versus Zane Grand Finals, they miss out on like the Mango reverse 3-0 Vamsa. Everyone had to hear about that pretty much afterwards. Even I missed it. Sag.
yeah.
I caught the
Oh, you
last.
missed it? That's
I
crazy.
caught the last stock. I turned on the stream and I go, oh man, this is such a good set, and I'm only watching the last stock, but also mega. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, what a perfect stock, and
yeah,
so
no,
on. Anyway, I know that there's a lot of people who could stand to know this is where I go to be up to date on important things, and the important thing about our community, sorry, is knowing that there is a certain amount of accountability that we are going to put on everyone so that we are having a good time, but more importantly, we are having a safe time. Because if you can't feel safe being in this community, you would be in full rights to go elsewhere. You would be in full rights to pass judgment on the rest of us for failing to do our part to say what somebody's doing is wrong. We want to be better than that. We want everyone to be here who wants to be here instead of people feeling ostracized out, minority groups being ostracized out.
yeah,
But if you're a little afraid to speak up for yourself or to speak up for other people, and the person who's like really loud and yappy kind of wins the day, yeah, it's more vulnerable. The system that we're in is more vulnerable to those kind of people. But that's why when something like Zion happens, like this past week, I feel not as if everything's going up and up and improving, but I feel like we're not sliding too far backwards because when 2020 happened, I thought, well, what happens in 2 years when a bunch of new allegations, or if a bunch of new allegations come out, and it all happened within the past 2 years where we all supposed to understand. I mean, all the Slippy kids came in just as the allegations started dropping in June of 2020. Slippy came out in
hmm
June 22nd or whatever it was. And then that's also around the same time as when allegations started coming around. That's how I remember it anyway. And
yeah,
they all saw, because they all got onto Reddit and onto Twitter and everywhere on Discord. They all saw, oh, I thought that was as cryptic or as bad as it is to say it. The timing of it wasn't as if we got an influx of new people who didn't see what happens when you are awful to other people. No, they got to see, all the new kids got to see, this is what happens if you're not good to your fellow community members. But still, it just, we're like you're saying, like Chase seemed to be indicating, we don't have a governing body to look to. That means that yes, there are people who can kind of dodge around if they felt like they wanted to or they could. But I mean, it takes. I don't want to say it takes you and me, and then we're good. It takes a lot of people. But if you are
sure.
listening and you say to yourself, "Oh, well, I can help my friends," and I kind of like, just make sure that we're doing our part to make other people feel welcome. Not as if you need to look at for people breaking the rules, but even making other people feel welcome goes a long way, because I stuck around because of the welcoming aspect of the community.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of positives and negatives. Like, I mean, a lot more. Thankfully, I feel like, I don't know about you, Jesse, but I feel like there are a lot more positives than negatives. But yeah, no, it's interesting to like be what's it called? It's like I think heartening still that people are still assuming that responsibility in a way, like even though there is not that central body that exists to deal with everything. I mean, to an extent, like TOs do assume that responsibility for every single event that they run, right? You sort of would like to care. You would like to have people that care, and it would be sort of trash if they didn't care, you know? So it's good to see that people are like shouldering that burden, so to speak, or like essentially doing the job that all of us should, as community members, should feel compelled to do, I feel. Um, but yeah, no, it's a tricky one. Like, I don't know, you sort of think to yourself, like, is there the scope even for a community like this to deal with it? You know? I think when a lot of those things happen in 2020, like, part of the reason why, like, Twitter is also bad, like, I mean, it's good that it showed, like, a lot of those things that happened, but it's not a platform for, like, sort of, like, getting people thinking about ideas and building on those ideas and moving forward with something new, you know? Essentially, like, you do depend on like smaller groups of people who are like working together in like their own private discords, or like for example the big TOs that go and put something on, like there's no like good town square, if that makes sense, you know,
Right.
where people can debate things and come to conclusions about
Well, the
things.
town square is like
So
a little
like,
bit too open, and the town square
yeah.
like is able to magically make your positive voice quieter and the negative voice louder. It'd be like if you walked into a town square and your voice was just like,
Yeah,
and
pretty
then the
much.
person who's spewing out BS is for whatever reason everybody can hear that person speaking. It's like
Yeah,
no.
and that person speaking as well gets rewarded for it in a lot
Right.
of cases, you know, and
Yes.
like gets a lot of likes and gets a lot of promotion, and like the what's it called? The how do I describe it? The more sensational stuff is sort of like rewarded basically, and people love to eat up, and like we're all guilty of it. But yeah, no, I've actually completely forgot what I was going with that thought. But basically, it's a problem that
There's
people
no town
don't have.
square. Not a good
Yeah,
one.
there's
There's
no
no
Times
good town
Square.
square.
And I was trying to think about what was before that, but like, yeah, no,
How about this?
it's
What if we
yeah, go
buy
on.
some land in the Midwest? Land is cheap, I hear.
Is
Maybe
that
a place
true?
like
In the Midwest,
in the
we're
you
buying
know
it
there's
like Iowa or
yeah, there's just places in the US that are flyover, nobody cares. I mean, there's some communities that we could probably just invade and get all the public offices and turn
mm,
into Melee Town or something.
colonialism. I'm loving the sound of this. Please tell me more, Jesse. But
I'm owned.
a little bit of no, no, I'm enjoying it. A little bit of melee. I mean, melee. If we've got
As
big
soon as I heard
ambitions, maybe we need to
colonialism, I
be
go, oh no, I have.
no, a little bit of melee imperialism. Like we need to sort of stretch our tentacles and sort of
I
like,
didn't say
you know.
invade anything. I just said, we just need to win those public offices.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, no, I
Uh,
mean, we could totally build like a courthouse somewhere in like Iowa, maybe in the
mhm.
Midwest, where well, what are some other Midwest states? Ohio,
Uh,
right?
I always love calling Ohio a Midwest state.
Well,
Not
no,
because you're
like
wrong, not because you're wrong,
okay,
but because
cool,
I always
cool.
get annoyed. Ohio loves to invite Pittsburgh people, and Pittsburgh people act like they're Midwest, and I'm like, no, you're in Pennsylvania, but also it is 400 miles that way. Okay, sorry. Let me rewind back to Indiana, Wyoming. I would also call Missouri a Midwest state, even though it's getting dangerously close to like the southern region where
The
Texas and
South,
Louisiana
yeah,
are. And Illinois, which is where Chicago is. That's the state
yeah,
that Chicago is in.
yeah.
Oh, and Michigan.
Michigan, I was about to say, yeah, where we've got a big house, but yeah, no, it's it's one of those things where like, oh yeah, this is what I was thinking. It makes you think about like the big like ethical questions around melee and around what we want this community to be. And low-key, I was thinking like I remember at the time like like I was thinking to myself, if this is the type of thing that can happen in our community and we don't have like a real way of dealing with it, then big question, like how ethical is it to even have a community like this that exists, you know?
Mm,
Or should we sort of can we sort of say like, oh, this is how the world is, you know? But then I came up with this amazing analogy, Jesse, like that you'd say to yourself, like, oh, just because like houses are set on fire, you know, and houses do burn down around the
they do.
world, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't say like, oh, um, we'll just build a bunch of houses which don't have fire extinguishers in them because houses burn down. So because we can't afford fire extinguishers, like we can still build the house anyway, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, or with proper fire safety things taken in mind. This is like the, I don't know.
You're
It's like a
you're
analogy
saying
I've never shared, but like, you know what I
if
mean?
you're gonna be cut down, why grow in the first place? And it's why live? You get down to that really even basic human instinct. If you keep
Mm,
getting knocked down, why bother keep getting back up? And
yeah,
that's a question you answer in your life at a certain point. You might not have to answer it at the age of 5. Hopefully, you don't have to answer it until you're a teenager. I guess that's under ideal circumstances, but like that's the cruel part of the world. Some people have to answer like at a really young age, like, do I want to keep just even living? And if
existing.
you
Yeah,
say yes, I have a reason to do this, then if you look at Melee and if you look at the community, is there a reason to continue to exist within this community? And is there a reason for me to care about the people that are within it? Then yes, I will do at least my part in saying here are the cool things. Let's make more of those cool things and safe things for everyone to enjoy.
yeah. The only thing is like when you think about the way those I don't know how you describe like injustices like are distributed, you know?
Mm.
This is I feel like we need to I'm gonna try not to labor this point too much because I'm sure there are a lot more positive topics we could talk about, but it's obviously like a big important issue. So I'll try and give it like the justice that it deserves, I guess.
It's one of the rumbling issues of the
For
community.
sure.
We don't always talk about it, but it's there like a splinter in our mind driving us
Yeah.
mad. It is this reason you
What's
have
the
come to
word?
me. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's
no,
was
is
quoting
it
the
like
Matrix. Anyway, go ahead.
oh man, I need to see The Matrix. Like, I haven't seen it yet, like ever. I remember, like, yeah, no, look at you. You did the little Neo back.
Well,
That's my
that's
friend.
just it's
But
only like a top 5 movie ever, but that's okay because you
no,
can
I need
watch
to
it
see it.
now and you'll go, oh, this is crazy. I mean, I'm seeing stuff that I've seen in other movies, and then you kind of realize they got it from this movie, and
Yeah,
it is itself. It holds up. So just watch it when you get the chance. Anyway.
yeah, no. I had a martial arts teacher. I did a bunch of martial arts when I was younger, up until around 18. And I remember like my MMA teacher between the ages of 16 and 18, I told him that I hadn't seen The Matrix, and he like absolutely lost his mind. He was like, "You need to go home today and you need to watch it," because he was in some action movies as well. Actually, like weirdly, I don't know why,
Oh,
in like
cool.
this small like yeah no in this small like working class town in West like on the outskirts of London. Okay, he set up a martial arts school, and he was like he he had to leave for 4 weeks or something like that, or maybe even longer than that, a couple months, I remember, because he appeared on like the Italian version of. You don't have Strictly Come Dancing, and you have Dancing with the Stars, right? Dancing
Yeah,
with
we
the
do have
Stars.
Dancing with the Stars. Yep.
So he appeared on the Italian version of with the Stars, um, and he played one of the characters in uh it's not Street Fighter. It's like one of these like smaller, like more niche fighting games. I
Something
think
like
it's
Slap
Dead or
City
Alive.
because that's niche to
No,
me.
it's not Slap City. I don't think they made a Slap City movie with live action people.
Oh,
No,
they made a fighting game niche. So it wasn't
yeah,
Mortal
it
Kombat
was
or Street
it was
Fighter.
Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive,
Oh,
I
okay.
think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, he was in Dead or Alive, and like because he was like a big built guy, and he was like I don't know, like Taekwondo champion or something or
And
whatever.
crying tears of
But
joy every time he watches The Matrix.
yeah, no, exactly. He was a massive fan of The Matrix. So yeah, no. Now that I'm finished with uni, basically, there's actually so much I could talk about the relief, but of finishing uni. But
Spreading your
yeah,
wings.
no,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness!
no. There's actually
Congratulations.
so much to go and explore and enjoy before I have to be grounded down by
Uh,
work and like
y-
the capitalist machine.
that
But
that is actually like an interesting thing. I don't know if this is true across the board for uni in the UK and schools out here in the US for colleges
mm,
and universities. But depending on what you go to school for in the United States, at the very least, you almost seem to have more free time than someone who works full time, like a full time student might have enough credits to be really, really busy. But if they're good at doing their homework and taking tests or whatever, they seem to have a lot of time. That's why there's actually a fair amount of students who still have time to like enter all these melee slippy tournaments and whatever else, especially, and of course during the summer when you're taking a break. But I mean, Aklo, even doing pre med stuff or just doing general
yeah,
or whatever. I mean, I, I forget what exactly. I think it was not pre med. It was whatever he needs to do in order to go to pre med, because becoming a
okay.
doctor takes like 10 years. But he still
He
had
spoke about
time
it in the
mostly
episode with you,
to.
right?
Hmm.
He spoke about it in the episode with you. I remember watching that. He was
Mm.
talking about doing his something cat, MCAT or
Hmm.
something like that.
So he'll be
Yeah.
doing that this summer, I think, or towards the fall, if I recall what he said correctly. But he like that's the crazy thing. He still had time to do melee events throughout the past 12 months, even though he was going to school for most of that time, is what I'm getting at. Whereas you definitely seem to be, I'm just ridiculously busy and I have time to do a few things, and that's what I'll make time for. But I'm very,
I
very
mean,
busy in general with
I
school.
suppose it was more so that when you messaged me, for example, um, that was like crunch time. It was
Mm.
like exams are coming up, and even though I might not necessarily have to exert a massive burden on myself, and even though I spend a lot of time you know, procrastinating you know, or people are around me are doing like a lot more, I'm gonna feel terrible about myself if I'm not like absolutely like throwing myself against the wall, like trying to do the best I can in this period. So it was sort of like, oh, I need to make sure I don't have any distractions. I need to do whatever I can to focus, and people focus in different ways to like, I don't know, insane extents, self-destructive even. But
No, I do
yeah,
understand
no,
that. I had to exert a lot of effort just to even graduate high school, and I've been school free ever since. It's been great.
really,
I
how
didn't want to go to
brave.
college. I don't have, or at least I still don't have the mind to be further educated, because I always say to myself, what was the point of learning algebra? And if I go to college, am I going to learn more things that I will never need to learn again? Because other
Yeah,
than regretting not having a piece of paper that says I'm a smart person, the actual school experience, I wasn't sold on that. I didn't want to, like, I don't know, go crazy and lose my mind with a bunch of other similarly aged people and live on a campus. And I just, none of that was interesting to me. I got married when I was 21, so I was kind of more interested in starting a family. So went and did that
yeah.
instead
And
of
you've
going to
it
school.
sounds like you've done that amazingly, Jesse, from what I've
Oh,
heard. You've got how many kids do you have now? Do you have two kids?
I do, yes.
Or yeah, I thought so. Yeah, no, you've definitely accomplished that goal, it sounds like.
Yes,
But it's
we
one of
got
those
them
things
done, and
where,
now we're raising the, hopefully the best kids ever. We'll see. It's going all right
yeah,
so far.
fingers crossed, best of luck. But yeah,
They
no,
people do tell me I do good.
yeah, that's good to hear. But I mean, how old are they actually? How old are they?
Ellie is 5 and Ezra is 3.
Wow. Yeah, no, you're actually, and you're 27, right, Jesse?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I actually feel so anxious about this because like I'm 24 now and I feel like I'm still here in this uni room now because I had to do like a couple resets for uni. So even though like I threw myself into very much wanting to do like further education, I did struggle at some points throughout it. Um, but yeah, no, I'm often thinking to myself like, oh, the clock's ticking. Like maybe I need to start a family soon. So it's something that weighs on me. But I'm
You
actually
have
going
all the time in the world.
tangent. No, I mean I hope so. I mean there's a thing as well where like I sort of do want to be around for like as much of my kids' lives as I can be. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
sort of don't want to like have kids super late and then die when they're super young. You know what I mean? Well,
Yeah,
not
that is
super young,
scary.
but
Yeah.
like yeah, like you do want to be able to. I feel like um I don't know. You sort of when you set out having like a whole kid, like you do want to sort of be there to see as much of their accomplishments as you
Hmm.
can, right? You want to be there to be there for them as well, you know, because the world can be a cold place. You want to. There's one of them walking. Is that what you're looking at to the side, Jesse? What?
Literally is like going off on you
What
in the chat
timing?
about, it says you can't even drive. Is that true? You can't drive right now, Hassan?
No, I can't drive. Wait, did he say this in the chat?
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I can't drive.
There's
It's
a
true.
bunch of people in chat. Let's see. Oh no. No, we got to allow this.
Wait, Where's this going?
uh
Like, because your chat is this is on the Cypher stream, right? Because
mhm.
I can see a couple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no.
No, no, the comment got held back. The chat got
Oh,
held back because it was potentially bullying.
yeah, no, no.
Now you should be
Wait,
able to
that
see it.
that got held back. These Twitch bot functions are like crazy. But yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, I guess, because my mum had me when she was quite young. So she was, I mean, I guess it's like a cultural difference thing where she comes from like Africa, right? She comes from Eritrea. Um, so
Is that a city or a
She
country? I'm sorry, my African like
that's
geography. Yeah.
that's a country. It's like it was formerly Ethiopia. So it had, if you know Ethiopia,
Did Ethiopia as a country not is that not a thing anymore?
it exists, but it's sort of just like split off. It had
Okay.
independence. I mean, I say split off like it drifted into the sea or something, but no, like
No, no, no. But
it was
it kind of
actually,
it's just like two countries now, or is it?
yeah, no, it's two countries now. There was
Okay,
like a big war about it, and like, but yeah, there's two countries now.
got it.
So yeah, no, she had me when she was 20, something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll always have, I mean, I won't always have her obviously, and I need to prep myself for that maybe in some way. But she'll be there for like, oh, fingers crossed, she'll be there like well,
For a lot of
she
firsts.
set herself up to be there for a lot of things that will happen throughout my life, right?
Yes.
And I often contrast with that. That's often something I think about, I go back to, and I think to myself like, you know, um, like it would be nice if I had that similar experience, if I could give that similar experience to a future child of mine. But this is so way off. We were talking about code of conduct stuff, and I'll just finish that point that, you know, for me, like melee existing, the problem with it as well is that like those problems, those injustices that which happen, like the abuse, whatever, they like we can happily be like, oh, like we are fine with melee existence, we are fine with everything that happens here. But those injustices often fall on like certain groups of people disproportionately as well, you know? If you think about like, you know, you and your friends might have a good time. Like me and my friends might have a decent time. Um, but like I remember seeing just on Twitter like the other day, like there were some women players complaining about, how they feel like people talk about them behind their backs and stuff like that. Which is like a problem for them, obviously, because people do not know how to treat certain minorities in the scene with probably the respect they deserve, and even like, there are other things around like, gender issues or like I don't think I haven't seen much like homophobia in the scene really. But yeah, no, I could even talk from my perspective about like, I don't know. It feels loaded to describe anything in my particular experiences like racism. But um I don't know. I guess maybe to an extent if I look back around the time I spent in Melee, right? Um It's just weird to talk about. I don't know. I haven't spoken about this before. Like this like something I've barely internalized for myself, right? And I don't feel like I have the words for myself yet to talk about it fully. But yeah, no, I think about the extent to which I've had certain interactions with people in the scene, you know, and the position in my community that I've sort of settled at, equilibriumized at, you know what I mean? Um, and sometimes it is sort of because in UK Melee, I don't know what it's like in. You're from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, right? Jesse, is
Yeah,
that
and
where you are now?
we pronounce it Lancaster, but I know it's Lancaster. It's supposed to be pronounced something like that.
I think what would I say? I'd probably say like Lancaster or Lancaster.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll probably like with a lot of English place names. You sort of like shorten it slowly, so I'll just say Lancaster. I mean, that's not even shortened. That's like all of the full syllables out there. But I don't know how. Yeah, no, you sound like you said you would say it like pretty similarly. There are like other words which sort of sound a lot more different, like
How do you say
Leicester.
Worcestershire sauce?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. You just say Worcestershire.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Hmm.
Worcestershire.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, it gets shortened a lot.
Yep.
But like, yeah, no, for me in like my community, I mean, it's changed a lot now, and it's something that I noticed. Like, even yesterday, I was at like the final iteration of one of our bi-weeklies. It's closing down. There'll be a swarm vlog. Swarm vlog is like future content coming out about it. But yeah, no, I sort of realized like, oh wow, there are a lot more black players in the scene now than it sort of used to be because it was pretty much homogenous white. And there's something with got Lunary in chat who went to Bemi,
Yeah.
which was something that sort of highlighted some of the black talented players that we have in the community. But at least in the UK and pretty much around Europe, which I've noted to the extent of which I've noticed at least, it is pretty homogenous in terms of its. I don't know how to describe it other than its whiteness. You know what I mean? Um, if you look around the UK community, if you even contrast it with someone like the Ultimate community, for example, Ultimate community is a lot more diverse in those ways. Um, but there isn't that degree of diversity in Melee in the same way. And I do sort of think back to, I guess ultimately the way I describe it is like how I've been treated throughout the scene. And there is sort of been, it's broadly positive, and like most of the time when I go to a tournament, it's going to be positive, right? But some of the frictions I've experienced, I'd say reflecting, it's not something I've mostly thought about in the times that I've even experienced it. It's only something I've looked at in hindsight quite recently. I'd say maybe in the past couple months, really, I've properly internalized it, where it does feel to an extent that I feel like those sort of frictions, those sort of experiences might be accentuated because of my race. You know what I mean? It sort of feels like,
would you call them microaggressions, or is that too much?
um, I mean, I can have, I could maybe point to like one experience that I think of as like subtly microaggressive, if I could say it like, I don't know if it's a verb,
Passive
but
aggressive is probably what you were,
yeah,
the more formal term.
no, I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of things which it feels weird to like, I don't know, like go into detail about them, but yeah, no, I'd say probably, um, uh, yeah, I'd probably say that it could be described in that way, like. And there are some things where, I'd go to tournaments, and even at the face of it, I'd be the only. I'd come from a community where there's massive diversity in London, one of the most diverse cities in the world. Um, and I'd go to these rooms where routinely I was like maybe the only black person there. Or I'd have Professor Pro, who I'd like idolize and feel like a great sense of like, oh wow, he's such an amazing role model for me because he was a lot of the times maybe one of the only black people on the PR, on the whole country's power ranking. If it wasn't him and Alpha Dash, I remember in the first Alpha Dash is like this guy who used to be ranked around top five, top six in the UK for like a decade. So he was like Professor Pro's friend, and they come from the same place in London, and they grew up with each other essentially. They
Aw.
had their own crew back in the day. It was like it was called OOC crew, which stood for out of control. And so yeah, that was them. Prop and Alpha Dash were like the best buddies in Melee for the longest time. But yeah, no, often you should just be me and them, or just me by myself when I'd come to a local. So even at the face of it, like that is something where I think to myself, wow, I sort of stick out here. I'm sort of different here, you know? And over time it sort of corrected itself. I go with my brothers sometimes, or I see Nightstar in chat there, who was at the weekly yesterday, the bi-weekly yesterday, who's also Eritrean, like me, and I have friends like Brand Speed and all sorts who are around. So I've come to find my place in a way. I've come to settle in a place where I feel comfortable. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where I feel like, say for example, experiences of things that could be described as like bullying, you know? You could go to like a central group of people and you could do something about it. Where, you know, I'll be honest, in my time in Melee, there's been a lot of cases where, you know, people would even tell me, Hassan, it'd probably be a good idea for you to write your own tweet longer about something like this. You know what I mean? But it would feel like, oh, as an individual doing this, I have to go out of my way to speak about this issue. I put myself out there. I put myself open to criticism. Uh, and people that I might be talking about might be, higher up in the scene or have more power in the scene. You know what I mean? So it would sort of be like, you know, I sort of don't want to do this. I sort of don't want to put myself out there in that way.
No,
Uh,
that's the thing that I wanted to say earlier. My biggest
mhm,
gripe, it's a double-edged sword, but I think ultimately I would prefer not to have this be a thing. We are a meritocracy. That's melee
Yeah,
to a T. The better you are at the game, the more power you have. And if you are better at running a tournament, that also helps. If you're better at running a stream, that helps. But mostly the game I'm referring to. The better you are at the game, the more you can be, well, Mango, because Mango has been under scrutiny plenty of times for either saying something or doing something that people go, mm, and everyone just
yeah,
ultimately says, I guess that's the Mango, and we move on. We don't
yeah,
actually want to hold Mango to an accountability because he just kind of laughs about it and we go, ha ha, too. Not that it's
yeah,
anything been, we're not talking about straight out abuse or anything. We're just talking about saying something that's either offensive or gets somebody riled up. And it might be a fair criticism, but then Twitter does what it does best. It just kind of crumbles apart and nothing gets accomplished.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, I think that's one of those things where those gray area things where um, essentially it's like I don't know, like the high school friend group that you essentially just have to, you know, either put up with the, in this high school friend group, there's not much you can do, right? I guess you could
Yeah.
even call a teacher in that situation, right? Like, we don't even have the teacher, Jesse. This is the situation that we're in. You can't even go to the teacher. Like,
TOs
it's
don't
just one of
start
those.
tournaments to police community behavior. They start tournaments
Exactly.
to have the best players be on their turf and to like be like, I'm the guy who ran Genesis, or I'm the guy who ran
Well,
our region's best local. I mean, I feel like most TOs don't say, I really just want to like have a bunch of people bring serious, probably need to get the law involved incidents. I really want to be involved in that. No, most
yeah.
people, that's not why they TO.
I mean, I that's slightly. I mean, a lot of the situation like where TOs get involved, like yeah, they are trying to do something big and they're trying to plug a hole in a lot of situations as well for local communities. I wouldn't be as I think maybe like if you were to draw up like maybe like an economic model which would like simplify it because the thing in economics is like you simplify stuff, right? That's
Hmm.
my degree. I just like talking about it sometimes, But yeah, shouts to Ohan as well, fellow economics major.
Oh,
I
okay, all
I
right.
remember listening to that in the previous. I'm a big, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest bottom of the Smash Mountain fan, but I've listened to a few here and there.
I
But
appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, no, but yeah, you might say like, oh, like the best way to model TOs are people who are interested in like building things and not necessarily interested in dealing with nitty-gritty stuff. But I think by and large, when you speak to a lot of these people, they do have that sense of responsibility, and I think that degree of responsibility is normally correlated with someone who's interested in building something big, because they think to themselves, you know, the common refrain that we say in the melee community is that don't do this if you want to make money, you know? So you
Mm.
do have to be slightly altruistic in a way if you want to build the community and if you want to run things. Although there are situations, I don't know, I feel like I'm like they they're basically situations where like there are people who okay, I mean I don't know if I should say this, but I'll say it. Um Situations where people say like, oh, I'm into safeguarding, I'm into taking care of people, respecting people, and I might have been on the what's it called on the wrong side in terms of their treatment from them as well. So it's a difficult thing, where even like you're dealing with a situation where you have friction with someone or you feel mistreated with someone by someone who's in authority, you know. So
That's the
there
worst
all of
instance,
these
yeah.
yeah, there's all of these big question marks around how to manage and govern all these types of things. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, there are big questions, a lot of big questions around it. But yeah, no,
I can't remember off the top of my head if there was any melee TOs accused of anything during the 2020 times, but I know that there were a
yeah,
few ultimate TOs, and that process was really ugly just from the outside looking in because that involves not tearing down the ecosystem of a region, but I mean more or less that's what that's simultaneous. Like that's a rough, not perfect way to describe it, but you more like we're talking about people, a person who a lot of people like, and one person who's being mistreated, saying, "I have a problem with the person in authority because
Mhm.
they mistreated me," or worse, and everybody goes, "What? No, that doesn't sound like no."
Yeah,
Then
that's
and
not my.
that's when it
This
falls
guy's
apart.
so chill. Like he's such a nice guy. He's such a cool guy.
Yes. Does
Um,
this cool guy also press buttons good, or does this cool guy
yeah,
like get let you bring alcohol into the venue and that's not necessarily allowed? Like that's really ugly territory.
yeah. I mean, even short of TOs in the melee scene, like there were definitely top players and commentators,
Yep.
who got implicated in certain things, and I think even more so. I think it might be, it might feel even worse than like you can lose a tournament. Like there are tournaments like that come and go.
Yep.
Some people have to stop winning tournaments because they don't have enough money or they don't have enough time.
Shine.
But if, yeah, Shine for example, or a bunch of other stuff like. But when you look back in the tournament history, there are so many moments which are characterized by these icons which went on to do bad things that when you go back, when you watch a certain set or when you listen to something commentated by a certain commentator, it always be tainted in that way, and in a way like our history had has been tainted in that way. Even Samox, he had to deal with it in a big way where he had to re-edit certain things in metagame, right? Before it came out, there was a lot of things he had to go back and censor, and some people weren't even happy with the way that he censored it. They feel like it didn't go so far because when people are presented with these issues and these experiences, it just sort of makes them relive that trauma all over again, right?
Right.
To whatever extent that they do, which is why a lot of people are very diligent and are very for scrubbing that out of like the tournament. I don't know, like our history, if that makes sense. Like people will say, don't say tags, they say redacted, right?
Yes.
They edit clips to get rid of people, stuff like that. Which I'm all for. Do what you have to do, of course, to feel comfortable. But yeah, no, it goes to show like it did a big number on us. So yeah, I don't know how we've dwelled on this topic for so long, but I'll
Well, yeah, but
I'm
I'm
happy to
fine.
move on if you
Let
are. But
me no. Well, let me ask you a broad finishing question for it. Do you
sure.
feel that this is the best timeline for the community to like in its history, the best timeline of behaving with a more safe and welcoming to others attitude, or are we worse than ever? Like, what would you fall towards or lean towards?
I mean, it's a difficult question because we obviously, with all of these things, we have no idea, right? I mean, to the extent to which I've been around, like, so I started playing Melee. My first tournament was it was like this small round robin tournament in the corner of a Smash 4 tournament. I think there were like six of us, and I actually had to convince the TO to run it because I'd come from all the way in West London down to South London with my school friend who used to beat me in F Smash only Master Dos pretty much.
Nice.
Um, so this was both of our first tournaments. Um, and so yeah, and then we had to say, oh please, please. We went to Croydon, which is like almost not even London, in the south, and we were like, oh please, please run this bracket because we've come all this way. We traveled
Mhm.
like 2 hours or something to get here, which is maybe not long in American context, but in the UK context, in the same city, like that's crazy.
That
Um,
is pretty long. Yeah, you can usually get from the top to the bottom of New York City in less than 2 hours, although maybe not
yeah,
not during rush hour.
sure, sure.
But yeah, if
Yeah.
Croydon doesn't let you play this round robin, you're not London anymore, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I wish I had the authority to say that as like a little nervous 17-year-old. But this is like August 2016. And like there was a big gap actually between me finding the Smash documentary. I think I found the documentary in like October 2015. And that was like, wow, this thing is amazing. Um yeah, I just remember it. It's like if I look back in my life, I don't know if a lot of melee people feel the same, but looking back on my life, it's like maybe the most influential piece of art for me, you know?
It is for
Um,
certainly for the doc kid generation, but even people
yeah,
who I've the people who have gotten into the Melee scene because of other reasons will go back and watch it, and they'll kind of be like, eh, it's good. It's yeah. Like they don't seem to
Yeah,
have the same reverence that
yeah,
like I watched it not right after it came out, but I'm not even a doc kid. It's complicated, but I watched it shortly within the 6 months of it coming out, and I just remember thinking, this is the best thing ever. Boy, will I not go to a Smash tournament because of it, but this is so cool because I loved playing Smash, and this spoke to me as a human
yeah.
being. So anyone who was around that time, I think like it is probably the most influential Melee creation that isn't literally watching the game. If it's related to a video content, however you want to phrase it, that's still probably at the top or close to the top. I haven't seen the new version, which is properly censored for the era that we're in now, like trying to take away all the slurs and stuff that
They
just
did that for the Smash Brothers, not
for
metagame.
the 10th anniversary of the Smash Brothers being
Okay,
a thing. Yeah. You might not have seen it, but Samox released a 4K Smash Brothers with slurs censored
okay,
and some of the rougher things that stuck around for probably too long were either taken away or edited further and then made it 4K, which
interesting.
I don't know how do you make it 4K?
How I
But
feel about
anyway, that's
oh,
neither here
oh
nor
how you
there.
upscale it? Yeah, no.
Do you
Yeah, I
just
actually have no idea. Maybe he definitely was not recording on film. So, because if it was film, you could just like blow it up, right? And the quality is often higher. But he was definitely recording on digital because I remember he told a story about how he had to fight like some crackhead. Have you heard of this story, Jesse?
Oh yeah, tried to like
Yeah,
stab
how
him
he
with
had
a
to
needle that had like ink
with a
on it or
needle, yeah.
something. It's like
Yeah, no, he had
some
to retrieve his like SD cards and he would not like let it go basically, and his camera or whatever it was.
it was
Um,
history. We need to. Okay. Oh,
yeah.
here's the wild thing. Mech posted that someone stole all the USBs or most of the USBs from
Oh
Tipped
yeah,
Off, which
from Tipped
includes
Off.
Moki. Like, sorry, Moki versus Mech and Mech versus Hacks Money, which by the way is so funny to me that Hacks Money lost to a Ganondorf in 2023. Are you kidding me? And
Yeah,
now we don't even
no.
have the Slippy files for that right now.
Yeah. Maybe it was hacks. Maybe it was maybe it was
Oh no!
him.
Don't say that.
He wants to censor it. No, I don't get no false accusations here, but like if there's anything that hacks money would want to censor, like do you remember you were around back then how you used to talk about Falcon. You remember? Like because he
I,
obviously
I
used to be
I
like
I only heard that he switched to Fox from Falcon. The
mm,
most I didn't see Hacks playing Falcon like live in a set. That
yeah,
was
neither
before my
neither did
time.
I. That was far before my time as well. But yeah, no, it's still he's like one of the best Falcons to ever play the game. Like if you look at his history,
Right,
like
sure. Results and
yeah,
the like watching old footage definitely
yeah,
had a good understanding of the game even back then.
exactly. But yeah, when he switched, like he used to talk down Falcon so much. Like he
That's
this
why
was
that
like
Big House 4 set is so
his
funny, right?
his yeah, exactly. It was like his one running joke. And the fact that he lost to the worst version of Falcon pretty
Yes.
much, like
Yes.
that is actually like so hilarious. But
The next tier
yeah,
list. And this is why I have
especially because
Ganondorf at number 8 on the tier list. He's just really he hits really hard and he hits you 4 times and you're dead, and that's not fair. As a Fox main myself, that's not fair to be hit by one character and die after 4 hits. It's like you play
yeah,
as Fox. What are
yeah.
you complaining about?
Yeah, no, it always feels so bad as well as a Marth main that like he has moves that like his massive down air can actually outrange me. I'm like, wow, I'm not used to being outranged. Like this is not right. But yeah, no, going back to your question though, like um I don't know. What was I trying to say about like is it worse now than ever? I'd say probably is like a lot better than it used to be, just in terms of like you can think about the documentary, for example,
Yeah.
like those type of slurs were a lot more frequently placed, and if you took like a lot of people, like say for example, like Smash is now sort of known as like being very accepting around trans issues, for example, like that would not have been the case. Maybe it's reflective of the time, like maybe because it was 2008 and like in the broader, you know, climate
World.
and the
Yeah.
broader world, like that was not an accepted thing, you know, or people were not understanding of it. Um,
But we
but
liked
yeah,
anime
no,
first, so it's pretty much not to say that's those are the same thing, but we Melee has been on the cutting edge
Uh,
more. We
yeah.
were the first Smash community. I mean, Scar and Prague, those two people really made sure, hey, we got to stop saying these words like that.
Mhm.
That was not we were one of the first gaming communities. I feel like that really put an effort into that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, no, I'd say we can probably be like heartened by the fact that it's gotten at least better on the surface level, on what we can see and what
Mm.
we generally, but in terms of like what's going on underneath, like we have no idea. And we I think we sort of just have to be comfortable with the responsibility of being vigilant, if that makes sense. Like we have to know that it's our role and our responsibility to do our best to make sure that things like this um are just not going to roll in our community. And if they do, then people can have the confidence to go and say something about it, like just like that. So it's like a responsibility that we all have to shoulder. And um, yeah, I don't think we're there yet in terms of like having that perfect balance in terms of, you know, the general ethos and what's the word? Vibe, I guess maybe, for lack of a better word, that we're like you will be 100% safe here. But we do a pretty good job at it, I think, overall, at least here in the UK. I can't speak for the rest of the world because honestly, I don't think I've even left England for a melee tournament, let alone UK.
Have
I
you
think I
left
said that earlier,
England
actually.
ever?
Actually, I'm really badly traveled. Like, I think I've left the country. Um, so I haven't gone to Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland, which are the other constituent parts of the UK. Um, which is actually a joke. I should have at least done that. But um, I think I only left the country um once. The first time was when I was 14. So I went to Eritrea with my mum.
Oh, that's awesome. I was wondering if you
Yeah, no.
that would be one of the yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the only places I've been to. So that was for 2 weeks.
Oh,
And
man.
the next time was for 4 days. No, 3 days when I went on a school trip to Germany when I was 16. And since then I've never left the country,
Mm,
which
okay,
is
because my
crazy.
dad went to, well, I don't know if it was still Ethiopia at the time or not, but that's what he said he was going to.
It's still Ethiopia now, but
Okay,
it was probably Ethiopia back then, yeah.
okay, so just the capital city. I don't remember the name, but the elevation's
Addis Ababa?
higher. Hmm.
Is it Addis Ababa? Does that ring a bell?
I think so. It's been
Yeah,
so long that what
sure,
I
sure.
remember hearing from him was the elevation was so high they didn't have to worry about mosquitoes. And I go,
Oh,
is that right? So that's a thing. You can live somewhere and there's less bugs. And when I went to Colorado, which is kind of famous, it's like almost exactly a mile, which is 5,200 whatever feet. It's not. Oh, I really wish we did the meters and kilometers because it's like
yeah,
10,000 or 10,100. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
We have a wonky way of measuring things, but the point is that it's a mile above sea level, which is
sure.
however you want to think of it. It's quite high,
Mhm.
and when I visited my brother and his family who live out there, when after my wife and I got married, we went out there, and it would be sunset, and I would go, wait, it's true. There are parts of the world that are like this where there's less just things flying on your skin, and I that's one of the reasons why I hate being outside. But I think, am I an outdoorsy person now? Do I want to go on hikes
Yeah,
all of a sudden? Because before I would like introduce myself to people and say, I do like playing video games. I'll be honest, I'll say it. Yeah, I like playing video games and watching movies. So what? Outside's overrated. There's bugs out there, and it's
yeah,
humid.
yeah.
What do you remember from being in Atreus? So what was something that stuck out to you? Because you got to go. So I'm just interested in hearing anything that you remember.
Yeah, no, it's actually so crazy, Jesse, like thinking back to that experience, especially the age I was. I think I was something like around 14, 13, around that time. And so,
Oh, 10 years ago
like,
then. Oh, that's crazy.
yeah, no, it's a while ago. Yeah. So, like, there are so many things I could talk about, but essentially the like overwhelming feedback. So it's one of the poorest countries in the world, um, and also it's got like this crazy dictatorship going on. Like I remember reading a thing on like Al Jazeera, where they described it as like the North Korea of Africa, right?
That's
Uh,
sobering. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's actually, and it's been like that. Basically, I mentioned this independence earlier. It's been like that since its independence. Like the same guy running the show for like 30 years. Night Star in chat will know all about it. But yeah, no, yeah. So I think the main thing I remembered was like, like it was like my family, for example, um, they were doing all right when it came to like getting by. Like obviously, my family in the UK would send money back and stuff like that to help them. Although I don't think they fully needed it, like to sustain a decent standards of living for themselves in that context, you know? I mean, they were still like collecting, so they had like this the way I describe it is like they have like this like compound where like it's like a few houses around like a central sorry, not a few rooms basically around this central like courtyard, and like that's their house, you know? So it's not nothing like big, like maybe a couple rooms. But like they have their own gate at the front, and they have like these gutters around where they like collect rainwater basically to do like different tasks with that water. Um, so, but they still had stuff. They had still had TV. They had like electricity and stuff like that. Although it would like go out. So, like, I mean, it's an interesting experience because like that used to be a thing in the UK in the 70s. There were like power cuts were like a regular thing, but in the UK nowadays, like that's unseen, right? That's still going on in Eritrea. And so there'd be power cuts, but the overwhelming thing that I remember from there, Jesse, was that people were so nice. People were so welcoming, and like the sense of community there was like night and day compared to what I experienced here in the UK. Like pretty much everywhere I've went, um, especially London. Maybe I'm tainted by London bias, but uh, in London, people don't even really speak to their neighbors, Jesse. I'm not sure what it's like in Lancaster,
Ooh,
PA,
that's East Coast season all
but
the way. I think I'd like London
yeah,
quite a bit. Look, it's not that I'm in love with refusing to speak to my neighbors, but
sure.
I don't have an interest in speaking to my neighbors. I live in a duplex, which is two houses that are, it's really one house, but it's split in two. So it's like a
Okay.
townhouse, except it's only two different families living in one building instead of a townhouse being like you can squeeze, I don't know, 10,
Many.
10
We'd
different
call that
units.
we'd call that terraced housing in the UK. I don't know if you have that same terminology, but maybe
Mm,
not.
to yeah, townhouses and duplexes. That's anyway. So the point is
Sure,
that
sure, sure.
I speak to my direct, share the same building, four walls neighbor, but I don't talk to the person across the street, even though we see each other all the time. It's just kind of like, and we keep it
Yeah,
moving, and that's what's all. That's
yeah,
what's. Even though Lancaster is a bit of a warm, welcoming place, it's also you walk down the street of Lancaster City, people don't say hi to you. You don't say hi to people. You're in the store. You don't say hi to people. Hi to people. People don't say hi to you. And honestly, I there is a weird part of me because I'm more introverted. I promise I am, even though I host a podcast where I like people ignoring me and me ignoring other people. So if I ever were to visit London, I would just be walking quickly from point A to point B and getting mad at the people
yeah,
who are looking around like, wow. And I'm
yeah.
like,
You'd fit right
you're,
in.
it doesn't matter if you're in London, you are killing me. You're walking like half of a mile per hour or kilometer per hour. And I have places to be right now. So I think I might possibly get along with London people, possibly.
Yeah, no, you'd fit right in. It's a big thing like on the tube as well, which is a like metro system in
Hmm.
the UK. We just call it the tube or the underground. Um, Like, yeah, people they're utterly like. I mean, I don't want to describe it as like silent because like I've had like friends that've gone to like Japan and they're actually silent there, you know, where like it's like deadening silence when no one says anything. But yeah, pretty much no one talks in like the tube, um, and yeah, no, if someone like you probably help someone up if they fell over, but like yeah, no one really talks to each other. Like just go about their own ways, and yeah, no, that was a big sort of like eye-opening experience to see in Eritrea. Like, and people have described it in where where like there's like poverty or where there's um like oppressive government and stuff like that. I've heard it often be said where like the big sense of satisfaction people get are like that sense of community, if that makes sense. Um, Even relative to like, have it spoken about like a north-south thing. So in the UK, there's like this north-south divide, or at least in England, where the north of England is like historically been considered like, especially since like manufacturing went away, it got like globalized, right? Um, so since then, like there's been like economic decline relative to the south in the north, where London's like this massive like economic hub where
Yeah.
it makes
Oh, for
more,
sure.
yeah, where it makes more like money basically than, you know, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland like combined, you know. So like it's very London centric, more so than like anywhere in Europe, pretty much as well. Like we don't do a good job at sharing it around in the UK, but yeah, people talk about I've heard people like reports of basically people from places in like Hartlepool, which is like really far northeast in England, like basically on the border of Scotland. Um, and people say like, yeah, like I wouldn't want to live in London, like despite the fact that, you know, first principles will make you say like we're way richer here, like we have like we're making a lot more money here, so obviously we
Uh,
even live longer here,
rent's
right?
higher.
Yeah, I mean rent is higher to be fair. Like rent is crazy in London, but like um yeah, no, they say like yeah, we wouldn't want to live there because it's terrible there. Like this is a place where people don't talk to each other. Like this place where they don't have a sense of community, where everyone's miserable and depressed, you know? Um and so yeah, I mean if you it might be one thing comparing it like applying that to Hartlepool, but Eritrea obviously like people are living shorter lives and it's a lot more desperate situation living day to day. But yeah, no, there's definitely that strong sense of community and that really stuck with me. Like everywhere you'd go, people would be welcoming and people would be nice and you know, yeah, it was just sort of like it felt amazing. It was like um a glimpse into what humanity could be like, you know, that I was sort of unacquainted with. So I sort of there's a bit of me as well, which I do think about this in the melee context as well, in terms of what I would like melee to be as a community. Um, and I think that's something I'd recommend, like to be like a good community member. There was this thing actually. So I always used to listen to. I don't know if you know the Commentator's Curse. Jesse, do you ever watch that podcast? It was with Blur
No,
and
I think
Tapo.
I only did one or two of them because that was slime led, right?
No, this was Blur and Tafo.
Bad Melee was slime led. Sorry.
Bad Melee was actually quite long as well. They did a lot of Bad Melee episodes. I remember watching a couple of them. I was not that much of a fan of Bad Melee, but I was a massive binger of the Commentator's Curse. I used to like basically drip like I used to like have a commentator's curse like needle stuck into my arm and like at all
Mm-mm.
times whenever like they drop like their massive 4 hour episodes I'll just sit down and binge them. Like I loved them and I loved hearing about a lot of the topics that were discussed. And even now like I love the Crimson Blur and everything. Like this is a very uncommon opinion. Like
There's
I
a
feel like there's a lot
7 hour
of
video
hatred
that
towards
I
the
could
Crimson Blur.
point you in the direction of if you want to. Did you see that 7.5 hour video of Blur tearing down Dr. Allen's statement on the?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched that live. I watched at least part of it live, and the crazy thing about that was that he was like late in West Coast time, so I had to like be up at like 3 o'clock or something in the morning to be watching it live. But obviously, like, come on, I'm the biggest Blur fan around. Blur fan around. I was not gonna miss that for like anything. But yeah, no. So he has that video obviously about Dr. Allen, but he has a lot of other videos. He has one where it's like the strengths and weaknesses of Melee, but he never made the weaknesses part because he's Blur. So he only made the strengths video, but that's like an amazing video where he breaks down. Have you seen it, Jesse? Where
No, actually, I
it's
don't
like
know if I
10
have.
reasons. It's like one of the things I recommend to people in Melee who care about like community issues more than anything, because he talks about all of the amazing things that Melee is good at.
Does
Um,
it talk about the
in
PM
terms of like,
VODs?
oh no, he hasn't mentioned the PM boards to be fair, but Loki, I'm a defender of him when it comes to when it comes to PM bots as well. Let's not get too into it. But yeah, no. Basically, yeah, I'd say that they basically used to talk about community issues, and one of the things that Tafo made, it wasn't one of those episodes, but it's a common topic. But he made a separate video about like basically picking up a piece of garbage is the way he described it, where he encouraged people. It was like a new year, and he had this thing called like Tafo Talks, where he talk about a topic in the community which he was interested in, or there'd been buzz about, people were talking about, and he would like give his opinion on it. And one of his new episodes for the new year was like, um, yeah, try and pick up a piece of garbage like over the year, which basically means like we're in this community space. If you notice something that's going on, like speak up about it. Or if someone needs help with something, like, go and lend them a hand, help out your TO, or, do these sorts of things where if we do our little bits and pieces, then it's basically like sort of thing you'd hear in nursery. But I don't know, it's sort of just stuck with me ever since. So yeah, no, everyone basically, I forgot where I started on this role. But yeah, no, I was comparing Eritrea to the meta community. So I was like, yeah, no, I sort of had a glimpse of like the role that community can have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that really resonated with me and stuck with me ever since. The only other thing that I can think of was like, I've got this really, really, really strong impression in my head of when I was leaving. Like, oh, Jesse, like, so I was at this airport, right? Asmara Airport or whatever they call it, Asmara International Airport. It's probably not called that, but I'm just coming up with the name. Asmara is the capital city of Eritrea. And so I was like about to go through the door, and like outside the airport was like all of my family would come to see me. Of course they were gonna come to see me, because of the sense of like, you know, like the hospitability and like the what's it called? The good there was such good hosts, like they were gonna see me towards the end, right? So and it's not just one family, it's like both sides of the family. So my mum's side and my dad's side, and like some of their friends as well. And they're like all basically like lined up, in front of me, like basically to say goodbye. And there was this like, there's like this strong feeling I had in that moment. Like, wow, I'm gonna leave these people, these smart, intelligent, you know, well-meaning, you know, some of the best people I've met in my life. And because of the fact that I got lucky in being born in the UK, because my fact that my mum like happened
Yeah.
to leave, I'm gonna leave them to this life which is gonna have so few opportunities for them, and I'm gonna go back and hop on a plane and come back to Britain. It was such a like harrowing feeling. I'll be honest, Jesse. It's one of the saddest things like I had to experience maybe in my life. Like it was crazy. So that's one of the big things where I sort of just it's been I don't know. It's not even it's one of those things where like obviously it's a sense of like I have a lot of gratitude for that, but more than anything, it like sort of I don't know. I don't know. It's mostly gratitude. It's mostly gratitude that I have for it. Like,
It also
yeah,
gives
so it's
you
resonated with me.
this concept in your mind. Can I do something in the future that helps in some capacity? Is that what I'm kind of getting that sense from you? There's a way
Yeah,
that you want to, I don't want to say like help hand out, but you want to go back and maybe there'll be something that you can feel called to do that somebody in your family says this would be helpful, or we at least want to see you again. If you were to ask them, they probably just say it'd be cool to see you again. We'd love to have you. And you go,
for
oh,
sure.
come on, that can't be the only thing that you want, but
Yeah,
that'd probably be what they say.
yeah. No, you're right. That is what they say. They often tell me to come over. Like, they always like, please, please come see us. And for varying reasons, that's like not been that possible for me. Um, Especially because there was like this slight period of like, where we weren't sure if it was like safe to go. But
Right.
yeah, no. So yeah, like I do sort of wish I could do something like, but there's one of those things as well that like because the dictatorship is like so strict, like you sort of think to yourself like, oh, you could get in trouble for doing certain things as well,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, so there is like that thing where like I have to, I don't know. I mean, overwhelmingly, like my sense of feeling is like, yeah, I want to try and do my best for these people, and I want to try and. It's a thing as well. Like when I think about my career in the UK, right? There are always these sorts of like. So I studied economics, right? I sort of hinted at it earlier, and so I took a year out in uni. There's a thing called a placement year. I don't know if it's a case in the US.
Are you talking about
It's
taking
much
a
the
break
thing.
from schooling?
No, it's like an inbuilt thing in your degree where I actually didn't choose to do this when I applied, but I chose to do it there's a whole other story about why I chose to do it. But I chose to do it midway through my degree, where the university will basically let you take out a year to go and do a work in industry, is what they call it. Basically, get a real job and see what it's like to work in the real world, and then come back
Ah,
and then do your final year after you've done that.
well,
So it's like a little break in the
whew,
middle.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. We call
Yeah, let's hear it.
we have school, but then if you want to get a head start in life because going to college or a university is not enough, during the summer, you need to get an
Yeah,
internship and you need to
yep,
work
yep.
for either minimum wage or no wage at all, and you get paid an experience which we are told will help us after graduating. It
We have that as
basically
well. We
they
have internships still.
yeah, and they tell you you need to be experienced in your job field, even though it's an entry level position, and even though they also want you to have a degree in that position. And you go, oh, so the internship matters more? Well, what matters more? And they go, unclear, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those weird ones to navigate. Like that's such a common thing in like the job market in general, I feel like, where they ask for more experience than even the job like actually requires. Where you sort of like have to sort of stick your neck out there sometimes and just take a chance on some things. Well,
Yeah.
we do actually still have some internships here. Um, but I guess maybe because the vast majority of people don't do a placement year, it's sort of like an uncommon thing. But I got the chance to do it, and I got a decent one, like one of the better ones, because I worked in the government, and so I worked for what's called the Government Economic Service, and I worked like basically what you guys in America would probably call like the department that deals with, or like the you call them departments in the US? I'm
Yeah,
pretty
we
sure you
have
do, right?
Department of Human
Yeah,
Services and Department of Transportation.
exactly.
Yes. Hmm.
Department of Energy,
Yeah.
Department of Motor Vehicles in some places.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I basically worked. It's called the Department for Work and Pensions. So the place which basically deals with like social security and like pensions. I mean, it's in the name.
Oh,
But
that word is quickly dying, but yes. Hmm.
yeah, no. That's basically what I did, and that was sort of my idea of what I wanted to do. Like, I always thought economics, the reason why I'm studying this is because, oh, like economic policy has like the biggest way to have an impact in the world. Like if I wanted to maximize my positive impact on the world, then the best way to do that would probably be like to help shape policy which has an impact on people's lives. But if I want to work in government, then I'm gonna have to accept that in order to have a big impact, I'm gonna have to accept a relative pay cut,
Mm,
because
that's true.
government workers don't get paid as much as like big corporate people. So even there, I'm thinking to myself, okay, wait a second. I want to try and provide for, I want to try and ease the burden for not just my parents and my family, but the family back home, the family back in Eritrea. So it sort of shapes my perception of what I should be doing here, if that makes sense as
Mm.
well. So there's all these like burdens that you can place on basically immigrant children. I mean, I was born here, but my parents were immigrants, so
Right, that would
yeah,
make you
there are
first
big questions.
generation or second generation.
I think in the UK we usually call it I don't we don't really use the terminology honestly. I've heard it a lot
Hmm.
with for example like there's someone who used to live with me from the US and he said like um actually he said like yeah, I work in college like with first generation people, so I thought he meant immigrants, right? But no, he actually meant just like people who are going to college for the first time. So we do use the terminology. I guess you'd call me second generation, um, because I was actually born here and my parents were
Hmm. But all the
first generation.
same,
That is how it works, right?
it's hard enough to live, but you're talking about two different cultures, big cultures, the one that you're surrounded by and the one that your parents more or less try to raise you on in a
Yeah,
different cultural environment. And London being as cold as it is, the current day Malay scape, if you will, and back in Australia
sure, sure.
being like, well,
Yeah,
that's what Malay community should be like, nice and warm and fuzzy. And who cares about money? Who cares about who the best is? Almost. We're still going to be competitive, unfortunately,
yeah, maybe a little
but
bit
you
as a
you
treat.
you almost say if I don't get to a spot that I'm happy with, that my family is not happy with, or like there's kind of like a lot of expectations that you're saying I need to live up to everything, all of it. There's like a list
I
in your
mean,
mind as compared to it's just you and then the bar stops.
against the world. Yeah, no. I'd say they're not even expectations that I set like other people have set on me. I don't think my family have been generous enough to not really set that many expectations, and they've been quite patient with me, even because I've spent a lot longer in uni than maybe I should have. Um, but yeah, no, I think they're mostly self-exerted type things where I sort of I
Ah.
look around, I'm like, okay, whoa, like, I mean, obviously, as you say, I was brought up in the culture, and I was brought up with my dad, who was very knowledgeable about, the situation in Eritrea and was quite critical of the government as well, right? Uh, I even get a little bit nervous saying that like online because like like there could be consequences like for people that are like long story short, like a lot of people who are publicly critical of the government like get locked up or like disappeared, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a thing where like I've always had in the back of my mind, you know. So it's I mean, naturally it would always be there. Like it's sort of like you can't live an existence where that's not if you come from that background, it's very hard to disconnect from that completely, you know? If not impossible. I mean, you would I mean, maybe if you like completely subsumed yourself in like UK culture and maybe didn't have Eritrean parents, like you'd be able to like forget about that past like was related to you, but obviously I grew up with the parents that I have, so yeah, no. Um
It would do
yeah.
this a
There
disservice to forget it anyway.
what's that, sorry?
It'd be a disservice for you to willingly forget that anyway.
I think so. Yeah, I think it would be. But yeah, no, there's all sorts of questions around that, like the immigrant experience. Like big thing that my dad did was actually he decided not to speak to us in not in general, but not to speak to us in the Eritrean language or one of the major Eritrean languages which he usually speak in. So there are like 7 or 8 different ethnic groups in Eritrea and they all have like their own languages, but one of the main ones is like Tigrinya. And so he decided not to speak with us in Tigrinya because unknowingly, like he thought it was a good idea. I should think I remember hearing this as well back in the day. Sorry, recently that previously psychologists used to think like it would be a bad idea if you taught your kids different languages because, pardon me, it used to be the understanding that that would sort of hold them back when they went to school. They wouldn't be able to talk to kids their age, and they wouldn't be able to
Ah,
converse with them. Which is completely wrong. Like
because
bilingualism is like a really good thing, which can improve your like language
and
capability.
that is the
So I never
time to become bilingual is when you're a child and your brain
exactly,
is like able to soak in like it can soak in
yeah,
2 languages. That's how good your brain is when you're young.
for sure. It can soak in more than that. I've had like kids that learn like speak 3 languages. Both my parents actually, because they grew up in a place where there are a bunch of languages and
Yeah,
different ethnic groups. Like I think my mom speaks something like 4 or 5 languages, and my
nice.
my dad probably speaks like something like 6. But these are like so probably like 1 or 2 Eritrean languages, then Arabic, which is like because we're Eritrean Muslims, which is it's like something they get taught in like they go to like special like Quran schools and like mosque schools and stuff like that when they're growing up. And obviously they speak English because they've come here. So and they speak the Ethiopian languages as well, like 1 or 2, So that all adds up to like 5 or 6 just naturally from being in that situation. And I still only speak English. I mean, I'm learning bits and pieces of different languages. I've got some rusty Spanish like under my belt, but like un poco. Hablo un poco español, pero es
Yeah,
muy
I
mal.
mean, in melee terms, your pocket fox is not really a pocket fox. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
no, it's not there.
It's
It's
tough.
like
It's
it can't
tough.
even. It can barely like wave shine. Like I mean, wave shining would be impressive. Like in terms of like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
language skills.
Run up
But
smash is mostly consistent for your Spanish.
yeah, that's basically there's a thing that's like a stereotype with like because a lot of English people go on holiday to like Spain, for example. I mean, the example is relevant because that's what we're talking about. But like, yeah, they go to Spain and like the way that they deal with like Spanish people who don't understand them is they just start speaking louder. They just start saying the same thing like, "Oh, can I have 2 beers, please?" And they're like, what did you say?" Like, and they'll just say, "Oh, can I have 2 beers, please?" Like they just repeat it. So I think that's a run up smash of like that situation. Like, but
One of these
yeah,
times
no,
it'll work.
yeah, no, like. There's basically it's an impact of like being here and having that pressure to uh basically fit in a country like the UK. Like yeah, there's just one of those aspects where like I just never learned the language. Hopefully I'll learn soon though. But yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of my experience with Eritrea. Shouts to that place. Maybe we can sort it out one day. But yeah.
We only have time for two more questions because I'm running out of
Oh
time
shoot.
on my side. It's all
Yeah, no
good.
worries.
It's all
Yep.
good. No, this just makes me think that I'm sad because this next question will be the reason why I can't have you on next week or whatever. But tell me, what are some things that you are looking forward to doing now that you have completed your uni arc? We've completed that arc of your story. Not
Yeah.
that we've gone over it
Hopefully.
today, but
Yeah.
you have done it. You've done the work. So congratulations. What are some
Thank you.
things that you are looking forward to finally being able to do?
Um, I guess I've got like the surface level thing is like there are so many things I want to consume, like media wise. Like I've got so many videos where like I would just like be revising and then like my brain just shoots off to want to like go to YouTube. Like and it's so super hard to like resist. So the way I got around it is by like adding things to my watch later. Or what is it? Watch later? Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
yeah, yeah. That I had like 600 videos in there at one point.
I have so many. Should I check how many I have right now?
Mm-hmm. I
Can you
bet
can you
you if you've been
can you
doing it for a
tell?
while, you probably have over 1,000.
No, it's not that many, thankfully. It's 366 right now. So it's still quite a few. I have no idea if I'm ever going to get through all of these, but yeah, no. Most of them are like quite long as well. They're like
One a day keeps the
podcasts or
doctor
interviews.
away. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. Yeah. So that's something I want to do. I did a thing where um in a couple weeks ago. No, it was like a couple months ago at this point, maybe around April or March. I
Mm.
entered a short
What
film
was
competition.
short form? What?
Short film competition. So
Oh,
at my university, they had like a short film competition where we had to film one in 48 hours. So it was very
whoa.
like it was the first thing I'd ever made as well. I'd like directed it and wrote it. And I'd never like really did any filmmaking before then. But I was really interested in it, and I still am. And so like it was terrible. The movie is so bad. It ended up winning the competition because there were only like two entries, and the other entry was like it had a lot of London slang and humor, and I enjoyed it, and I liked that movie more than our movie that we made. But the audience was like, I don't think it was a lot of people from London. So because I'm in
Oh
Essex, I'm in
no.
Colchester, which is like a city like it's like actually it's very recently became a city. It used to be a town for the vast majority of the time I was here, but it got upgraded because the king like we've got a king now in the UK,
Oh yeah, that's
so
right.
instead of
Yeah.
a queen. And so part of the things they're doing when he became a king was to change it to a city. He like upgraded the status and like we're meant to celebrate about that, I guess. But
Well, I mean, I didn't even watch the crowning ceremony, so
yeah, no, to be honest, I think I missed most of it as well. And I think a lot of people in the UK are apathetic about the monarchy anyway.
yes.
Although I've heard like a lot of people in US like are fans about it, are fans of it for some reason.
No,
But that's the weird thing.
they think that's what they want, or they just
Sure.
it's just like that thing over there. It's the grass is greener
Yeah.
on the other side. It's like the allure. Wouldn't it be weird if somebody in the UK was talking to you and being like, "It's so cool to have like a president. They just elect presidents, and that's so cool." Like I've been watching the presidential debates, and you're like, "You're not, mate. You're not voting for their president. Why are
Yeah.
you watching
Yeah.
their debates?" Like that'd be kind of like that's me to a person who goes like, "Oh my gosh, like the king," and I'm like, "Do you?" Did you you're never going to meet these people and they have no direct influence on your life. Why are you there's so many YouTube videos about Melee you could watch, and that's a better use of your time, I promise you.
Yeah, no. We need to channel maybe that's an unexplored market. The royal fans in the US like are gonna get funneled somehow. But yeah,
We
no.
do have a King of Smash, and this just he's just
It's
retired.
true. It's true. We need to do that more, by the way. We need to have like royalty tags. Like we don't even have a name for this era that we're in. We just call ourselves like the Slippy era or the post-Slippy era.
Mm.
Like I want to call like maybe how many top players are there now? It's like Zayn, IBW, Jmook, Hungrybox. Who else is up there? Answer, Mango.
Did you say
Um,
Jmook already? Did we say Leffen? Leffen
I've said
has
Jamie.
threatened to win.
Leffen's around.
Leffen's threatened to win tournaments this year. I'd say we're getting close to like
Plop.
Plup. Well, he doesn't really compete that much, but I'm saying
Oh, really?
we're,
Yeah.
we're getting close to a time where 10 different people could win 10 different majors in 1 year. That I don't think that's
That's
happened
crazy.
before. And we've gotten to like 7 in times past, in years past, but I think there's going to be
Seven or
enough
eight.
majors this year for there to be that to be possible. But we've had a couple of back to backs: Jmook won, Genesis, and Collision. A big blow to the 10 different people winning the majors thing. But so far we've had Jmook, Cody, Zane, and well, if you want to say Combo Breaker was the major, which it probably wasn't, but Magi won that.
Yeah, Magi won that. Did Alpsa win anything this year? I don't think he has won anything this year, right?
No, because even
Yeah.
the come up, which was in Canada near Toronto, Moki won that. So
Moki won that, yeah.
yeah, but Moki
Yeah,
winning over
no.
AMSA, Mickey Mouse Major,
Shouts to
Moki's been
Moki.
finishing top three for a lot of these super majors though. So Moki is another player we have to mention. So
Yeah,
I think
Moki
that
for
got you to
sure.
10 or to 9 when you were counting, by the way.
Yeah, basically we need a name for them. We need a name for them. And so yeah, in addition to making,
The new
I want to make
guard.
I want to make another short film. Because it was like it was fun and like I'd like to make something with more time so I can hopefully make it less bad. But I want to make melee content as well. Like I was talking to you earlier about that vlog that I haven't put
Mm.
out. I've actually recorded at 3 different tournaments at this point, and I have not released anything since. The first time I recorded was like January 2022, and I still have footage sitting on my laptop doing nothing, which has not been edited into like a fully formed good piece of content. Mostly because I looked back at them and was like, oh, this footage looks terrible visually. But yeah, no, I actually just realized I listened to my recordings I made yesterday, and it's all in one ear, so I'm gonna have to like mono the audio, like to make it just like
It is
one
tough when it's
stream.
only in one
Yeah,
side, yeah.
but
But
there are
if you
also
do
some
that, you're
problems.
capturing a time period. It's a timepiece now. It's where were we in this era? I mean, I need to do a monthly video that I filmed. I edited it and I finished it, but I sent it to the person who was gonna who asked me to do it for him, and he didn't like it and asked me to make a bunch of edits, and I got sad and I haven't finished it. So I need. How about that? If you see me put out if you see me put out a video besides a podcast episode on my channel, that'll hopefully remind you. Oh, well, maybe I'll get to one of them. Not three of them, but maybe I'll get to one of them.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'd hope to. That's actually a thing, Jesse. Like, I think in addition to all of these community issues, people should be thinking about like community, like content. Like, there are so many unexplored things with content, I feel like. And I was talking with this yesterday to like one of these Slippy kids. Shouts to Niall if you're watching, Recluse. Um, his tag is Recluse. I'm not just like subtly shading him on the Smash Mountain podcast. But yeah, no, I was saying like there are so many things we could doing. For example, those vlogs. They've been an idea I've wanted to do since maybe 2018. Like, and I've never made them like for varying issues. Like, I'm very bad at like following things through for whatever reason. Well, there are some reasons, but let's not get into them right now. But um, yeah, I think that vlogs, for example, the best thing about vlogs is like you can show someone what a tournament is like before they've even come to them, you know? Um, and that's sort of like what the magic of the Smash documentary was as well, I feel, where you were sort of like given a window into this, wow, this weird, kooky,
Yeah,
quirky place,
you
you
saw
know?
locals in
And
those episodes, not just majors. They
yeah,
things were filmed at locals.
but even majors, like, I mean, locals are interesting because they're sort of like the backbone of the community, and they're going to be probably, although I've had a lot of people come to majors as their first tournaments, they're probably going to be the first tournaments for most people that are looking to dip their
Yeah, that's
toes into
true.
the melee scene.
Yeah, a major
Um,
that's like
so
within a couple 100 miles of you in the US. That's not
sure,
uncommon. Like, oh, I'm here at Pound or I'm here at Shine because I live not too terribly far away and I decided to come out.
exactly. But I think if you think about all of the things that prevent someone from going to a tournament, that make people feel shy or anxious around going to them, like a vlog is like it's putting you there and it sort of demystifies everything that happens. You know what I mean? You get to have like a direct um face-to-face almost like engagement with who these people are and how they move, how they interact with each other around this game, you know, where if a tournament stream, for example, you only see gameplay and face cams. It's very depersonalized in that way, you know? Even commentary is its own product, you know? But things like podcasts, for example, or things like vlogs, they have a big potential to sort of introduce yourself to someone like, say, for example, all of these things I spoke about in terms of Eritrea. I've not spoken about these things, Jesse, honestly, to people, my Melee friends that I've had for years, you know? It's the first person I've ever speaking to these things about. And because that's just the nature of Melee relationships and friendships, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and even friendships in general, I don't think there are very few people I've spoken to about this in like my
Oh.
life. So, but the nature of this content, basically, it can do a job of introducing people, sorry, to these more like genuine aspects of, um, the way they interact with each other, uh, and a scene that makes content. Uh, Not only that, but it has a lot of potential to make the scene grow because I think it has growth potential. I don't think I'll make a good vlog in my first time I make it. Maybe eventually in a few years I'll make like amazing vlogs and people like love them. But
Oh,
I
if you
think
if
if
you
a lot
pop
of
off, we're
people
gonna lose you, Hassan.
no, no, I'll be maybe we'll run like the SwarmEngine CS, like my version of the LACS, like
uh,
um the SwarmEngine Championship Series.
mm,
One day. I mean that's a complete pipe dream. I don't see myself sustaining that long in terms of content. Um and I don't see myself being that successful honestly. But yeah, no. If you think about it, the documentary, it was the reason why we experienced a lot of the growth as a scene we did. Like people got richer in our community because of the documentary.
yep.
I think that's you can just say that.
Yeah.
Um, and if you think about us now, the state that we're in as a Smash community, um, that's looking a bit dicey. I know the BTS people they made the. Did you see this? The new company they're making? Are those called like it's
Off
called like
brand.
Offset or something like that? Off brand. There we go. Um,
It's all
so
good.
they're making off brand now. So that might be like, sounds good for a lot of Melee people. I don't know if they haven't said that they're gonna do Melee, but maybe there's a chance. But
Where do you think LACS 5 is going to be? I imagine it's going to be at the formerly BTS studios, now the off-brand studios.
I
I
mean that would
assume
be
that's where it's
amazing.
going to be. It's in LA. That's where BTS used to be. They
Yeah.
said they bought the building. Are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah, no, it would be good. It would be amazing if it was to happen. But basically, I think on the content front as a whole, though, I think I don't think, I mean, we have amazing content producers in the scene, and we have a lot of people who have the ability to make content, and do it regularly. And I enjoy, for example, I've enjoyed recently seeing Shayla, from the UK, like really grow in that way that he hasn't that we didn't see before. So shouts to him. But basically a scene which is thinking about ways to create content which will lead to growth, or at least um, you know, as a side thing, as like a little bonus,
It drives
they're making that
interest.
type of
It
content.
keeps people engaged. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you think about it, it will do better, theoretically, than a scene which is not doing that stuff, you know?
Hmm. Yes.
So, like, and we might not become successful. We might not reach the heights that we reached in the past, Melee might end up being smaller than it used to be, but the only way we're going to get it to become bigger than it used to be is if we try to do things which will induce that change, if that makes sense, which will cause that, which is why I think if you're interested in helping Melee grow, and having some fun doing it, then making content which is slightly geared to the idea of helping it grow or having a purpose, is a good thing. But honestly, if you make any content, it's better than doing nothing, which is what a lot of people in Melee do. So, yeah, no, I definitely recommend if anyone's interested to make a podcast, which is like relatively low effort, or vlogs, which are relatively like a lot higher effort, which is why I've made zero vlogs and started two podcasts.
Editing is the
But
annoying thing. Podcasts are easier
yeah,
because you have to do a lot less editing. That's the true
yeah,
killer, and I think a lot of people will back me up on this. Editing, I mean, Samox edited a metagame for how many years, right? He wasn't making it; he was editing it for 5 years. Anyway,
Yeah. I mean, there's a craft in it, and I think it can be enjoyable. I can think of a lot of times where I've really enjoyed editing, but yeah, no,
takes time. Takes time. Takes time.
it just takes time.
Well, that's
But
what
yeah,
we need AI to do. We need AI to edit for us. I need to ask you
yeah,
this last
fingers
question,
crossed.
then we need to get
Yes,
going.
yes, yes.
This is a
Yep.
Patreon question. Shout outs to Bard, aka Neil. Bard is Neil's
Okay.
tag. He runs tournaments down in Baltimore, the BMW series, and the monthly BMW Baltimore monthly something. You know what? I
Shout out
give
to
up.
Baltimore.
Just shout outs to Baltimore. If given the opportunity to change one meteor spike into a true spike, what would you pick? And while you're thinking about that, because I already know my answer, Yoshi's forward air. Make that a spike, baby. Yoshi's top 5 if we do that. Let's go, Amsa. Hey, I was rooting for Mango versus Amsa earlier because that's a delicious little mini rivalry that we got going on right now because Big House 10 was hype. Tipped off
Mhm.
14. They're set in winners semis. No, winners quarters was hype. But if Amsa had a spike, you could just, I mean, I was just like, yeah, we're
Give it to
cooking
him.
now.
Let's play. Give number one to him right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I'm just saying.
honestly, I would. That is like the same answer I'd give, and honestly, I would
Really?
struggle to think of another one.
But
I
what
would.
what about Marth's downward angle third hit of the sword dance? Make that a spike too.
Jesse, you're coming up with all of the answers. Yeah, no, I'll take that one as well. Yeah, that one, that answer. I was gonna say though that I was gonna say that obviously in Europe we used to pay used to pay PAL, and I'm old
Yeah.
enough to have used to play PAL, have used to have been playing PAL, and so had my wish granted. I already had that because Marth Downer in PAL is a meteor smash.
Yeah, you can
So King
cancel it.
combo is not a thing. It's not a thing. And so I've already had that granted with NTSC. I don't want to be like, because we've switched to NTSC across Europe now. We don't play PAL anymore. PAL is dead pretty much.
Yep.
So I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to take up another one. So
Well, I'm
yeah,
just saying, like, it would be in your best interest if you want to continue to main the like. Look, it's I don't want to call it a safe edge guarding option because you have to time the third hit. Yeah, try reacting to a Fox side B or a Falco side B with your third hit downward angle sword dance while you're standing at the ledge of the stage. Anyway, no, I mean there's actually a lot of meteor smashes out there across the cast. Ganondorf, that would be great for him to have one. It'd be great for to have his down air be a spike. It'd be great for Mario's forward air to be a spike. Uh, but I just think about Yoshi, who is the borderline mid to high tier character, and that would put him into high tier status. So I don't know if it would make him top tier with Fox, Marth, and Falco. And
yeah.
why do I feel not because not Sheik, Fox, Falco, Marth. I'm missing one. Who am I
Tough
missing?
maybe.
Maybe.
Falcon.
No, yeah. Maybe it is just those three that I consider to be top tiers in Melee, but I feel like I'm somehow just missing some.
Newsflash Jesse. Newsflash Marth is not a top tier. Just so we have this clear.
Just high tier.
Yeah, in my opinion. Yeah, no,
Hmm.
he just gets it. Bro, that guy gets invalidated by Sheik. Sheik is the real top tier. This is some Swarm Salt truth coming out right now.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, just so I get the Sheik hatred out there. I just need to. It's very important
Isn't
to
your
me, Jesse.
tag J
So,
Mooncake on Twitter? Don't Are you not a J Chic believer?
no, This is pre the J Sheiks. This is pre the J Sheiks. I'm actually so ashamed that that even exists right now. But I'm so attached to that title. Like, it comes from childhood. But that's a whole nother story. I don't want to keep you for too long.
But J
So
Mook
we
and
can
J
say that for a
Flex,
different.
everybody else tainted it for you. J Salt.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah.
There's a couple more that I'm missing, but yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to change my tag to J Wall,
But
JWOL,
yeah,
and
that's
main
your.
chic. I'm
Yeah,
just
that would be like your name, pretty much, right?
yeah, because
But you.
you just change A Wall to J Wall. Yeah,
Ooh, I actually quite like that. Is that something that you've had in your back pocket, like
it's floating,
growing
but I'm
up?
not a chic main, so I like playing as Fox. And when I on a GCC controller, I'll play as Marth, Sheik, Falcon, because I'm not really good enough to be good at any character anyway.
Sure.
But on the box, that's what I primarily play, primarily playing Fox. But when I go to GCC, I love playing all the higher tier characters and a little bit of Ness, because Ness is probably my favorite character aside from Link to play in Smash 64, and he was halfway
Yeah.
decent in Smash 64. His recovery is like ultra trash and predictable, but you get
Ness
it.
is down there. Ness is down there. Is that a Meteor Smash?
It is a Meteor
In
Smash, so for that
Okay,
to be a
I'd make
spike,
that a
that'd be
spike.
cool. That'd be
You
cool.
can have that one. He needs something. You can have that one. That's my
He's got
answer.
the
That's my
Thunder
official
Jacket,
answer.
the coolest name glitch in the game. The
Yeah,
Thunder
no.
Jacket.
I love those. Have you seen the ones where like he just grabs someone across the stage? Like
Yes.
the tracky jackets where bro.
I have been meteor smashed by a taunting Ness at the ledge before. It's been done to me. It's recorded. Me and Hada played against people in Colorado, and oh, I
Wow.
forget this person's tag. I'm gonna feel bad about this now. But they meteor smashed me while taunting me, going okay, and I got meteor smashed.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Honestly, that stuff is so cool. Like, I remember seeing it for the first time, like, Hax, his Falcon got grabbed across the stage. I think Mofo is the name of like the Nest main, like old school Nest main. And that's like one of the craziest things I've ever seen in Melee. Like, it still lives within me a bit. But yeah.
It's beautiful to see little things like that, or like when S2J in versus Plup at that one shine, and Plup falls through the stage during the
Yeah.
fire transformation. All that
I
stuff
remember
is
I
why
remember actually,
that's why this game's worth following, because the little
yeah.
things like that. So when people talk about freezing all the rest of the remaining stages and getting rid of Fly Guys, I go, Duck didn't retire just for you to ban the Fly Guys, okay?
I
Like
love you, Jesse. We're on
we
the same page. We're on the same page. We
we
need the
need
jankiness. We need the weirdness.
Yeah, Melee needs to have a couple of wrinkles. That doesn't mean we need to bring back all the banned stages or anything, but I would say I would just say we need another tournament like off season. Remember off season last year?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Mute
The fact,
City being legal.
is it
Come
not?
on. That was
Yeah,
beautiful.
and they were paying for 10 grand. Can you imagine it, Jesse? That was actually they pay. I also won a tournament for 10,000, but we got $10,000 for playing in a tournament with Meat City, which is like crazy. But yeah, no,
I'd say I just need more tournaments like that. If it's 1 or 2 times a year where I get to see Poke floats, maybe a couple of items on, or Rishi's Jungle Jam, I don't care, but I just need a little bit of variety, because we are dangerously close to Smash 4. So let's not become Smash 4. And for those of you who were around during Smash 4, all you ever saw was Town and City, Town and City. And
true.
and the music on that stage sucks, and I don't want to be that game. So let's not.
I like the music. Controversial take. I like the music. I like to see KK Slider playing his like guitar on the Saturdays or
the,
Saturday nights or whatever it
those
was.
are good, but
Uh,
there's that one medley of the
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing that I always just go like, "Ugh, they always play that one. No,
Yeah, yeah,
just do KK Rockin' or whatever the other
yeah,
ones
yeah.
were. And then the brawl music for the Animal Crossing stage for Smashville, where it starts off with like a car going that was a good song, but that hardly ever played when it watched Smash 4 tournaments, and I just wasted my life, or too much of my life, talking and watching that game. So let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Same.
We could have gotten to so much more, Hassan, but thank you so much for the time and for
Yeah,
being
no.
on the pod with me. I'm looking forward to
I'm
seeing.
so down. I'm so down, Jesse. Whenever if you want to have me on again, like I'm so free right now. I'm like
Let's
free
talk about Fate
before.
3 after Fate 3 happens.
Let's do that. Yeah,
hmm
cool.
And
I'm
if
down.
you want to go to Fate 3, you still have time to register. It's next month, July 17th through or 14th through the 17th, or something like that. Just go to StartGG and look up Fate
Yeah,
3.
you have the dates. You knew it exactly. Yeah, please come, please come, please come, please come, please come. Yeah,
Could you
no.
tell I looked at it and went, "Do I? No, I can't, because I literally cannot afford it." But that's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, you're fine, Jesse.
I'll
You've got a
hopefully
family, but everyone else.
hmm
Yeah.
maybe someday I'll be out of the continental North America and go to a place like England, but not this year, and we shall see. But please tell the people where they can find you and any last thoughts that you have.
So you can find me at JMooncake. It always gives me an amazing buzz to see an additional follower be added to the
Mm,
swarm. That's my name now. I just came up with it on the spot.
to the
That's my
swarm.
the swarm. Um, or I don't know, the Mooncake fam. Um, but yeah, no. You can follow me on Twitter. If I do any melee content, I'll post it there. Um, and if you're interested in joining the UK melee community or finding out what's going on here, um, There's probably nothing for you actually. I did run a
Isn't there
Twitter
a
account.
European Melee Twitter where you could probably just like at them and say, "Give me the
There's a
invite to
UK
the"?
Melee Twitter.
There's a
There's a
UK
UK
Melee
Melee
Twitter
Twitter.
too.
Yeah, that's what I made it actually. It's called at Melee UK. I co-ran it with Chase and Megan, who are interviewed Chase, they're Team Phoenix people who help run Fate as well. Um, and so it would be nice, I think, if someone were to do some work on it during the summer. So I might do
Oh,
some
that's
work on it.
awkward. I'm following it too, and I forgot that it existed.
Shout out to that. UK Melee updates. I'm gonna try and update it. So if you're interested in finding out stuff about UK Melee, follow there. I'll see what I can do in terms of updating it over the summer and hopefully into the future. Um, Follow Team Phoenix. Shouts to Team Phoenix. You can find them at twitch.tv/Phoenix Smash. They're the main like Twitch stream for the UK. And apart from that, I'm definitely forgetting something important, but I'll leave it there for the sake of time. Maybe I can shoot you something over and you can put it in the YouTube description if I remember it. But
You have until tonight.
yeah,
Well, tonight. Ha! It is tonight for you, but I'm going to
sure,
be pushing this out tonight, I believe, and then I
sure.
will hopefully remember to make a tweet post about it on Monday when I come back from. I'm going to a thing over the weekend with my family, just a little short, extra long
Sure.
weekend vacay, sort of mini vacay. You get it. I'm not going on a week
Yeah.
long
And if,
holiday to a different country, sadly, but you know what? Virginia is nice this time of the year. uh,
you take what you can get, take what you can get, Jesse, honestly. I wish I could go to like Virginia on the holiday, but no, if I don't forget, if I don't remember to put it, if I don't remember anything tonight, I'll just reply to your tweet that you post on Monday, with any links, any relevant links. But
cool.
yeah,
Oh,
no.
you can send
Thank
me
you so much
links
for
as
having me,
well that I'll
Jesse.
put into the description. You'll find,
Okay.
Phoenix Smash, the Twitch channel for Phoenix Smash, and at J Mooncake on Twitter for you, Hassan, and then at UK Melee for the UK Melee Twitter, which
I
will
think it's
become
Melee
very,
UK.
yep,
I think it's
Melee
at
UK,
Melee
which will
UK.
become very
Yeah,
revitalized in the near future. I see some Fate 3
fingers
stuff,
crossed.
but I don't see the J Mook. Like you can play against J Mook in a best of 3, like
Yeah.
yeah, some
On a
kind
best of
of
five, I think you can pay for that. They're
best of
gonna do.
5, yeah.
They all do like they do weird, kooky
Mm-hmm.
compendium things. For
And
Fate.
and more
Like
importantly, you get to meet Verd,
uh,
who I've also interviewed. I forgot to shout out Verd
I
earlier.
watched that episode. I watched that episode,
Takes
and
great
you mentioned
photos.
me in the episode. It was so crazy. I was like, wow, my name came up. That's
That's
crazy.
because I like I can't wait to get on Hassan, but I also need to talk to somebody from the UK because I'm going crazy over here. All right. Thank you so much, Hassan. The outro plays, we do the thumbnail, we'll actually be done. But to those of you at home, this is us signing out officially for you. But Hassan, don't go anywhere.
Sure, sure. See ya, everyone. Bye.